Who is directing it? Yeah, actually,
It's a first time.
because it's not Doctor.
No, and it's not Who.
Yeah, clever. Which last episode was. It was all set up. It's part one of a two-part finale.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Oscarverse. Today we are reviewing Inside Out 2. Yes, it's been a week since the movie came out, but we haven't had time to record. So, this is coming from Kelsey Mann, who is it's actually his first debut feature. His first debut feature. That was redundant. It's his debut feature. He did a Monsters University short film called Party Central before.
I've seen actually.
Okay. But that's it.
Wouldn't have put two and two together, but sure.
Yeah, definitely in the Pixar stable for a while, though. I mean, over a decade at this point, so probably well deserved. And I would say, based off the results of the film, a well deserved outing for his first film. And we'd be very, very happy for him to continue working with Pixar. Because I quite like this movie. I like this movie significantly more than I thought I would. Coming in, Inside Out is like a top tier Pixar film for me. Speaking of top tier, we did a Pixar tier list, but Inside Out is a top tier Pixar for me. So I was a bit I don't know. I was a bit trepidatious heading into this one. I didn't entirely know if it needed a sequel, but I do think that this film more than justifies its existence as a sequel.
Yep, I mean, I felt the same way. It's no secret that Pixar's been on a bad streak recently. I've not been unanimous, like positive overall really about a film for a while. And I deliberately kept myself free of sort of early reviews, reactions, stuff like that. I'd heard generally they were positive, but like still that didn't really do anything to temper my expectations. Sure. And I was really quite blown away by how much I did end up enjoying this. I do think it is up there in terms of Pixar's echelon. It's not top tier Pixar, but because they've made some of the greatest films of all time. But it's definitely in that circle. As you say, it's a worthy sequel in pretty much every regard. It does a great job of expanding the world. I think it tells a great story within its own right. And it's the type of film that opens a door to even more films. Whereas like after, Toy Story 3, I'm like, this is where it ends. After Incredible 3, I'm like, I don't need another one after this.
I don't know if they could do like 17-year-old Riley.
Because emotions get more complex and you would need to have more of them and stuff like that. So I think
and
it
also
could jump over itself.
Sex and like potentially like do we get into like there's a lot of later puberty stuff that I don't know if.
But I guess the point still stands that when Toy Story 5 was announced, I actively am kind of
whereas I would actively be excited about a new
If there's an Inside Out 3, sure. Take me there. Because this film, it really worked for me. I think there's a lot to dive into, whereas unlike films like Elemental, Luca, Turning Red, I don't think there's much really to say about it. I do find that I want to talk about this film, which is a good thing for a Pixar film.
No, for sure.
I actually want to discuss it.
I mean, genuinely, I think that this is their best film since Inside Out. Genuinely.
I'd agree.
Like, which it's been a bit of a long stretch, but I think that this is probably their second strongest franchise that they've done by a considerable margin. So yeah, just getting into the film. I mean, we have Amy Poehler returning. We have Phyllis Smith returning. We have Lewis Black as well returning, right? I believe that's his name. If not, yes, that is his name, Anger. Cool. So. And then we have Tony Hale and Liz Lapira taking the place of Mindy Kaling and Bill Hader, which I do think were missed, but each exited for their own reasons. But I really think it's the new cast members that shine, particularly Maya Hawke, who I thought was excellent as Anxiety. Io Debris didn't have that much to do, but she's Io Debris, so
love her. Yeah, I definitely. If you're praising her, I think you might be just praising Io Debris. Yeah,
just for being Io Debris, she deserves praise. Yeah. But yeah, no, Maya Hawke, I think was genuinely really, really good. And it felt like an authentic voice portrayal to like it was exactly how I imagined that character would sound like. Which I think just is a testament to how kind of natural her vocal work slid into the rest of the cast. And I had a lot of fun with all the new cast members. I do think that it led to the film being a tad unfocused as they were trying to balance 9 different emotions plus the real world stuff all at the same time. And we did get that like George Lucas type like 3-plane storytelling where you had, the stuff in the tower, then the stuff with the emotions. We're going to get into spoilers. The stuff with the emotions outside the tower, the original 5, and then the real life stuff. And each of those 3, like an action in one, would affect everything around it, which I think did just flow from a narrative perspective really seamlessly and was really, really well constructed. But I do think that we didn't necessarily get as much development as we could have gotten, just because of how kind of thin some sections of it felt for me.
Yeah, I don't disagree that some of the sections felt a little thinner than others, but I think it's told in such a creative way that it sort of disguises the fact that the
I agree. Yeah.
construction is fairly simple in terms of what it's doing, but it's so just tightly done. It flows so well, I think, from start to end. Like, it's really well paced in terms of getting from one plot beat to another, whereas it could have felt quite laborious, like, okay, now we cut back to the real world. No, everything, it doesn't feel like 3 fragmented stories. It feels like one
as I said, it feels very cohesive,
which
in the way
I think
that they
is
all
really impressive, actually, in terms of how much they are balancing, how much they are juggling. I think they're able to do it in a very seamless and very creative way in terms of all the, like, it's very simple, but I love all the metaphorical stuff, like the brainstorm and the sense of self, and how it's actually quite an interesting deconstruction of how we function, like how our beliefs create our sense of self, and how when they're tampered with, we lose that, and that takes away a part of ourselves. So I think it's great for kids, and the messages that it is delivering about the need for anxiety, the need to find joy in your hobbies, all of these sorts of ideas that are apparent in the first one are still here. Like, it's not just retreading beats, it's actually introducing new stuff for a more mature audience, which is in the same way Toy Story 2 jumped up to Toy Story 3, and then Toy Story 3 was exploring more mature stuff. I feel like this has aged with the fandom of the original as well, I think, in a really impressive way.
Yeah, I will say, I have seen some criticism that as far as narratively, it does hit all the same beats. Like, yes, Joy gets separated, she gets out of the tower, and then she has to do something and then get all the way back to the tower by the end to save this one very specific event. In the first one, it was her running away, and the second one was this hockey scrimmage, right? Yeah. But I do think that, sure, maybe the structure of what happens, right? It, like the fabric is put together in the same way, but the fabric looks completely different.
Because there's so much of this world that is still left unexplored. You feel there's so many avenues they could take it.
Like, they're hitting very different thematic beats, even though it's following the same construction, I would say.
Yeah, no, completely agreed. Because I really like the hockey sort of camp as a foundation to build the film around. I think it gives a nice sort of time constraint. It gives nice stakes in the real world. I really like all the real world stuff in a way that in the first one, I don't exactly remember what happens. Like, she goes to a new school, etc. That's not the important part of the film. I think this definitely takes center stage here, which I think is a good thing overall for the film and this franchise. If we are anchoring,
you actually grow to become really connected with Riley, which I think is important.
Exactly. If you're trying to anchor the franchise around this character rather than just these emotions, I think it is very needed that we do care about Riley. So we want to see more of her in the future, and it ties back into the point that I wouldn't mind seeing a third one of this after this one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it is this interesting thing where, like, I think that you could watch a film of just the emotions and it would be perfectly good. And I also genuinely think that you could watch a Pixar film of just Riley and it would be good. Yeah. But I think it's the combination and the balance that they are able to find, even if I don't think they strike it perfectly to keep everything balanced. I do think that it works for the most part. And I think that's what really elevates these films conceptually, is kind of that back and forth relationship and how all of the emotions, I think the way that they're characterized, they really authentically do feel like an extension of Riley and not just like kind of these stock emotions that are responding to like the separate entity. Like, you can see, particularly in this one, as we saw more of the real world stuff, like you can see the way that each of the emotions will influence our action and pull back. Like, it all really, really is seamlessly constructed. So.
And I think it also rides on the dynamics between them, which I think are so well established in the first one. You can just have fun with them in the second one. You can just build on them. And so I think the interplay between the emotions is really what makes this film just so charming throughout,
Yeah.
and such an easy and breezy watch, because you're always invested in, what's Anger going to say, what's Fear going to say, what are they going to say in this situation, how
And
are
it's
they going to react?
genuinely funny. Like, I think it's even funnier than the first film.
I think it is funnier than the first one. I think a lot of that is also found in just sort of animation quirks, like the puberty is a real messy work sign that just gets thrown down. It's these simple things like this that I think were really lacking in Pixar's most recent output, where sure, Elemental kind of looked nice visually, aesthetically. It lacked the background detail to really make you feel like this is a believable
and there's
world,
this
which I think
hyper attention to detail in this film, like not just through the animation, but just through like the script, everything. Like I don't know, it seems like this had far more drafts done of it than any recent Pixar project.
It feels like, and I know if I was watching it feels like a complete draft. Like it feels like there is no better version. Not to say the film was perfect, but there is no better version of what you were trying to do here than the film that has been brought to us, which I think, is a massive positive and a massive takeaway.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And it does feel like this cohesive, unified vision throughout.
For sure. Did your phone just go off?
My phone did just go off. I'll turn it off.
No, I will say, just kind of tangenting off into the real world stuff. One, Riley's gay as hell. Sorry,
I don't know. I needed to be more explicit. Personally.
You want explicit in regards to
no, not explicit like that. Obviously, fucking not. But I don't even think it doesn't go as far as Luca, and Luca was
no,
close.
But I mean, come on, it's not like she looks like a lesbian.
I think that's a horrific generalization.
It does the freeze frame when she looks at her for the first. I don't know. I think it's there. I think it's very much there.
I'm sure, but if it is there, I'd like it to be more visible. Personally.
Yeah, well, they got to sell this to China.
Well, maybe they don't. It's doing well enough in a domestic box office.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like it was very strongly intended. If I'm being completely, I feel like it's there. I think more so than Luca.
I genuinely don't see it. And I've heard of this, but I don't. I think
it's there. But anyways, I think all the stuff with Hockey Camp is really well executed, and you do actually feel the stakes there, which again I think is different than the first one, where you don't entirely feel the stakes, I guess, of their real life stuff as strongly as the stuff with all the emotions, right? But like, when she like goes into her the coach's office to go look at the book, like I was generally like it was tense, right? It works. And the stuff with like with that final scrimmage, like you do genuinely go on an emotional ride with her, and you do feel like the ups and downs. Your phone's fucking blowing up. But
1 second. Where the fuck is my phone? Oh, it's fucking Tucker. Fuck off. Anyway,
what is Tucker sending to you?
No, it's just on the group chat. Just edit that all out. None of that.
No, I'm leaving some of it in.
Fine.
But just the stuff within the Hockey Camp, like it is actually something that I related to quite a bit. I played academy, travel, whatever you want to call it, football. Well, football around the world. In America, we call it soccer, but football. It's football.
Travel football. What is that thing?
Well, yeah, it's different than like just playing at your, playing within your city is where you travel across different states.
Yeah. Okay.
It's your fucking country's tiny. Your country's
traveling football.
Your country is the size of my state.
Smaller, I believe. It is smaller.
So it's like you're traveling out of state,
and that's with Scotland as well, I believe.
Yeah. So basically, that's the idea. Anyways, I was and still am when I play very, very hard on myself, very, very hypercritical. Have had significant amounts of anxiety when playing, particularly when I was younger and playing in decently high level tournaments and all these types of things, right? And it genuinely is a very accurate depiction of like sports anxiety and what that feels like. And I don't know, I think I related to it far more than I probably should have. But it does really, really work, I think, in those moments. And even if you didn't, very directly go through those exact same kind of experiences, I still think it does work, and it does very effectively, I think, convey a lot of Riley's like internality there. So.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, Pete Docter made his comments recently about telling, focusing on universally accessible stories. But if this is the kind of thing he's talking about, sure, he might be on something, because it is genuinely like someone can find anything within this film, and
Yeah.
I think can relate to it, which I think is a really good thing. I also really appreciate the fact that when the dominant voice in their head is that she is not good enough, she is pretty good at hockey. Like, it doesn't stop her. It would have been very easy for a kid's film to go, oh, if you think badly about yourself, then you become shit at what you do. Like, and that's just not true to the real world. And the more important message in there is about finding joy in your hobbies and finding joy in your passion. And then it makes you even better. Like, it's not
right. And
it's more complex than a lot of films could have taken this. It's more complex in the direction.
And again, personally, that's what I was kind of missing, where I would get incredibly hard on myself and just think that would motivate myself. And I was still good. Like,
exactly.
if I must say, I was quite good for my age. I was quite a good player.
I mean,
but
you could beat 99% of Premier League players in a penalty shootout. Apparently.
I think not. I didn't say 99%, but I am quite good at penalties. Anyways, but yeah, just coming back to playing it recently, I took like a 3-year break, but just getting back
to a personal story. Sorry, this review is completely you're now just telling an anecdote, completely nothing to do with this film. But no, I'd like to see how you tie it in. Go on.
No, I was just gonna say, I rather than focusing so much on being hard on myself, I was just trying to focus on finding more joy within the thing. And it did just become more fun and didn't feel like as much as like a chore or a job to do something that I genuinely like. So all of this to say, I'm just saying that I do genuinely think that this film does a very good job, and as you say, it is more complex at exploring these ideas. Sorry, was that too fucking personal?
No, there we go. We got there in the end. But yes, there is so much to appreciate about the film. As you say, it's so funny. There are so many brilliant moments that I feel we overlook, like the moment in the vault is just a short little throwaway scene. Pouchy comes back. Really,
anger, like deep throat, like what was
okay, right. And you say that me. Okay, anyway. Yeah, sure. Anger fists Pouchy. There we go.
I didn't say that. Jesus, Thomas, calm down.
Oh, you basically said that. Get the Wattpad out for that fan fucking fiction. Someone's already done it. I bet. I guarantee.
It's already happened.
Someone's already done that shit. I mean, he's just a mouth. How could he not? Like, you know, it's
just the Doom popcorn bucket, as it?
Yeah, but what was I saying? Vault stuff, great. I feel it'll be overlooked, but is a moment that is worth touching upon. All the stuff with the workers, I think, is so funny. And it's, we've said it before, but it takes what is quite surface level or out of a plot, but complicates it in a way that is very interesting, and it becomes more than sort of the sum of its parts, which I think is a positive.
Just as last thing, just talking about some of the comedy of the film, each of the new emotions have such a distinct like animation for like their movement that I don't even think exists. Like, it exists a little bit for the old emotions, but like on the way ennui moves and the way that, you know, like anxiety moves, like the way all of them moves, like I would ever scare with envy. I think like there's a specific moment where she's just walking back and forth on top of the dashboard, and it's so funny just the way that they've animated her, and it's just a lot of those physical gags. And again, I can't remember the last time that we've seen an animated film that is like really good at executing these physical gags
and even not just physical gags, just physicality in general. I think the moment where anxiety of just hanging on to it and you can see it in her eyes is just it's brilliant. Like, one of my favorite ever animated sequences, like in any animated film, just that moment where Joy like needs to put her away, and it's like the stillness but mixed with this motion. Like, it's just a brilliant sequence that I think all Pixar films are sort of credited of all having that tearjerker moment. And it's not a tearjerker moment, but it is a really quite emotionally resonant.
It's emotionally visceral. Yeah. And it does so in a way that feels natural, and it is exactly what the film is building to. It doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel shoehorned in just for the sake of it. Like, I don't know. I've been using the word seamless a lot, but I really think it's an excellent word to describe the film. Like, it is a really, really just tight film.
Yeah, it bears its emotions on its sleeve, but it almost has created a cheat code in which it just can do that because of the concept. Like, that is the point of it. So yeah, I think it's really charming throughout. It's quite subtle in what it was doing. It's a great family film as well. I think everyone can find something to enjoy within it. So I would have liked to see more of the parents, I will say. Obviously they couldn't really be shoehorned in, but I think they're great, and I would have liked to see more of
yeah. But no, I mean, it is, and a lot of people said it, but I do genuinely feel like this is a massive return to form for Pixar, and I hope that we see, this form continue moving forward, because, I mean, yeah, it's just, it's a lot of what makes Pixar works and has made Pixar work so well, that it just, a lot of the ingredients have been missing for a while. So, yeah, no, really, really like this. As far as a rating, I am feeling a strong 7 to an 8, personally.
I'm going 9. I think it's one of the best films of the year so far, personally.
Totally
I really can't find much fault with it, to be honest.
Yeah, totally fair. Totally fair. Yeah, no, it's definitely growing on me. I could genuinely see myself going up to like a pretty solid 8 if I rewatch.
Yeah, and it's the type of one that's really stuck with me for whatever reason. It's managed to pull its way into my brain. And
yeah,
yeah.
Same. No, and it's gotten better in my mind the more I've thought about it. So yeah, no, absolutely. But that is it for today's video. We are going to be having a couple more things in the future. We're going to have a Bike Riders review, a Kind of Kindness review. Might do like a Linklater and a Yorgos video. We're going to do a queer cinema video as well. Lots of fun things. But until then, you can follow us on Twitter and Letterboxd in the description. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Stay safe and goodbye.